This is Geometry, Lesson 10-2, Measure of Arcs and Central Angles. Our objective is finding the measure of arcs and central angles. So I want to talk about the angles of circles. So today, I just want to make sure that you guys understand the difference between today and the next lesson that we have. All I'm talking about are angles today. I'm not talking about how long this is, like what's the distance. I'm just talking about what is the angular change. So that'll change in a future lesson where I say, okay, well, that length right there is 2 inches, right? Only angles today. So I just want to make sure we know, too, that if I have a central angle that measures 100 degrees, I will say that the measure of that angle is 100 degrees. 100 degrees. So I'm saying angle DAC is this angle right here that measures 100 degrees. If I have the little m in front, and I'll write this down in my notes too, this is now talking about the measure, aka a number. So I can say that numbers are equal to things, but if I was just talking about just the angle like this, then I would say that the angle would be congruent. Because I have to measure, I can now use the equal sign. I have permission to use the equal to sign. And not only that, I can say that the measure of angle DAC is equal to, I can say this is also equal to the measure of the arc. So this arc DC, it's a minor arc, so I only have to have 2 letters. I can say that's equal to the measure of arc DC. So I put a little arc above it. This interior central angle is congruent, or it's equal to, I guess the measure is equal to that arc. So just remember that this central angle and this angle, they are the same angle. Okay, so how would we figure out the measure of BC, this arc BC? Well, you'd go back to the central angles. You say, okay, well, and by the way, for this lesson, we're going to assume that any line that you see that looks like a line is a line. So we're going to say that that is a diameter. If this is a diameter, that means that this entire line adds up to 180 degrees, which means I have 100 plus what is 180? And you'll say, okay, this has to be 80 degrees to add up to 180 degrees, which means if the central angle is 80 degrees, that means that this arc, if this angle is 80 degrees, this arc right here is also 80 degrees. I can say that this is equal to 80 degrees because that is equal to the measure of angle BAC. BAC. Okay? And just to make sure that we understand, if I have the measure of BAD, I already said this out in words, but I'm going to write it down now. BAC, this line here is a diameter, and diameters always have an angle of 180 degrees. And this is something that you probably already know, but I'll write down and make sure that we have it as explicit knowledge. If I add up all of the arc measures, so that's if I add up the entire circumference of angles, I have rotated how many degrees from here to here? I've rotated 360 degrees. And the same thing if I'm talking just about the inside, the central angles. If I add up the inside angles, if I rotate from here all the way around to here for the central angles, that's also still 360 degrees. 360 degrees. Excellent. And it is important to start writing the degrees now as opposed to radians, so just start getting used to that. All right. Example 1. We're going to find the measure of arc QS. So I'm talking about the number. So QS is 2 letters. So I'm not talking about this really big one because that would have been QRS. I'm just talking about this tiny one, QS. If I find that angle, I'm done. Note that all 3 of these should add up to this one, and this arc right here should add up to 360 degrees. So I can make myself a mini little equation. Let's go ahead and call this thing QS plus 140 plus 94. That should all add up to 360. I'm going to leave off the degrees for now. I'll put the degrees at the very end. So I'm going to add 140 and 94. That's going to be 100 and, oh, sorry, not 100, but 234. And that's still being added to arc QS. And that's still equal to 360. From here, I'm going to subtract 234, subtract 234. And when I do that, I'm left with our arc QS, which we're trying to solve for. And that's going to be equal to, what is it going to be? 126 degrees. I'm going to put degrees because it's my final answer. So I can go ahead and box the final answer. Nice. And and I just want to, if I make any subtraction mistakes, go ahead and let me know in the comments of the video or on Google Classroom, and you can get some extra credit. You always get extra credit if you catch the teacher mistake. Okay, let's find this one. Find the measure. Okay, now we're doing an angle. Before we were doing an arc measure, now we're doing an angle. Find the angle of GIF. So GIF is this angle right here. So I'm going to go ahead and, I'm just going to call this angle theta so I can write it a little bit quickly. So I want to find theta. Okay, so one thing I see is I see a line that has 180 degrees. So if this angle is 180 degrees, this 70 is this angle right here. So I can really put 70 degrees here. You don't, this angle and this angle are always the same, right? So this angle and this angle have to add up to 180 degrees. You can already tell. The answer is going to be 110. Okay, yes, you're right. Let me show my work to see how to get that. I want to say that 70, I don't have to put degrees until the very end, 70 plus my theta that I am trying to find should add up to 180 degrees. And then from there, I just subtract 70, and I'm left with theta is equal to 110. Now it's my final answer, so I'm going to put degrees. And I randomly decided theta, so technically it should be the measure of angle GIF. I'm just going to box the 110 degrees. Excellent. All right, let's try example 2. Okay, in this one, we're solving for x, and that's different than the ones that are going to come later in the assignment. Later in the assignment, I'm going to ask you to not only find x, I don't explicitly say it, but you're going to find x and then use it to find the arc measure of ST. Just take a sneak peek, right? ST is this arc length right here, which means I need to figure out 9x plus 15. What angle is that? And I don't know what x is, so I have to solve for x and then plug it into here to find this arc measure. Up in example 2a and b, all I have to do is find x and I'm done. I don't have to say, oh, what is this arc measure right here? So in part A, I'm noticing that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different angles. Some of them are central angles, some of them are arc measures, which are the same thing. So really, I just have to add all of these together and say they should add up to 360 degrees. So I'm going to say 155 plus 55 plus 50 plus another copy of 50. Do I have all 1, 2, 3, 4 of those? And then finally plus 2x minus 6. I'm running out of room. Let's do this maybe underneath here. I have room down here. Let's say all down here. Plus 2x minus plus 26x and then minus 2. All of those added together should add up to 360 degrees. Okay, so simplifying very quickly. And I think I can simplify and then move up to the top. I think that's okay. So I'm going to go here. And I'm drawing an arrow so I can clearly see my work. Okay, so 50 plus 50 is 100. I'll remember that. And then let's just do these two together. So 55 and 155. Well, I know that if this was just 50 and 150, that would be 200. So 200 plus our extra 5s here would be 210. Plus this one, so 210 goes up to 310. Then I have to do subtract 2. So 310 minus 2 is 308. So really what I have here is 308. And then I still haven't touched this 26x. So plus 26x, and that's still equal to 360. From here, I can move this around and say, okay, minus 308 on both sides, minus 308. And we can say 26x, therefore, is equal to 52. And two bars right here. And then from there, I'm going to divide by 26, divide by 26. And x is equal to 2, which is my final answer. I'll go ahead and box that. All right, let's try example 2b. I'm noticing I'm missing some information over here. Okay, I was worried for a sec, but then I realized, okay, that looks like a diameter, therefore it is a diameter, therefore this angle right here has to be 180 degrees, therefore this arc measure right here is 180 degrees. These three angles must be added together to get 180 degrees. That's how I'm going to set up my equation. So I'm going to say 62 plus x plus the 50 plus the 70, all should be added up to, I'm going to run out of room here because my notes, when I print them out, this part gets cut off, so I can't actually use it. I don't know if I can write here. Maybe I can, I'm going to shrink ray this down. So grab you, shrink ray you down there. That should be good enough. And I can say that's equal to 180 degrees. So from here, I'm just going to add all these terms on the left side to see what I get. The first thing I see is these two add up to a nice 120. So I'm going to write 120 up above here so I can remember that. And then I'm going to do 120 plus 62. This is going to be 100 and 82, and then plus x is equal to 180. And then from here, I can subtract 182, subtract 182, and that's going to be x is equal to -2, which is okay. You are allowed to have negative values for x. It doesn't make sense to have negative values for angles, though. So let's move on to example 3a. These are like the truly hard ones because they require a lot of steps. So I'm trying to find the measure of arc ST. So ST, again, is this arc measure, which means I need to figure out what this angle is, or this measure is. I have to find what x is first, and then I'm going to plug it back into 9x plus 15. So how do I figure out what x is? Well, I have an arc measure, and an angle, and angle. Again, arc measures are the same thing. So this is really this angle down here, and this angle right here. All of these angles should add up to 360. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this plus this plus this plus this adds up to 360. Here we go. I'm going to say 2x plus 15 plus 9x plus 15 plus 10x plus 120. All of that should add up to 360 degrees. All right, let's combine our like terms. So first, let's do all of our x's. I have a 2x, a 9x, and a 10x. So these all add up to 21x. And then next I have a plus 15, another plus 15, and a plus 120. Well, these two add up to 30. 30 plus 20 is 50. So this is 150. So plus 150, and that all adds up to 360 degrees. I don't want to put degrees there. I only want to do that at the very end. I need to stop that habit. Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and subtract 150 on both sides. Minus 150, minus 150. That's going to be 21x is left over, and this is going to be 210. Ah, that was nice. Okay, so I can just divide here by 21, divide by 21, and I get x here is equal to 10. Okay, I'm not done because, yes, I found x, but the question didn't say what is x. It says what is ST, or the measure of arc ST. So I'm going to say, okay, ST was 9x plus 15. So I'm going to say, I'm showing my work very clearly here, right? I'm saying that the measure of arc ST was equal to 9x plus 15, 9x plus 15, and then into x, I know it's going to be a 10, so this is really equal to 9 times 10 plus 15. 10 was in purple, so I'll put that in purple. And then 9 times 10 is 90 plus 15, which is 105. It's a final answer now. It's in degrees. Weird box. I want to try that again. Better. 105 degrees. All right, I'm realizing that was cutting into room for example 3b, so I'm going to move that right there. And just so that the teacher doesn't get confused, I'm going to put squiggly lines wherever I start new pieces. So that way it's very clear. I guess I don't really need a squiggly line right there. All right, let's try example 3b. Find the measure of angle USW, therefore it's talking about that angle right there, I suppose. Again, angles are always unclear. Am I talking about that angle right there, or am I talking about that angle right there? I'm just going to always assume whatever's easiest. So the easier one for me for USW is that angle right there, which means I need these two numbers added together. Okay, unfortunately, we have an x, so I can't just be done. So I need to figure out what x is, and then I'll add all that together and be done. I'm noticing I have a lot of missing information here. Oh, that information happens to be on the other side of this diameter. This diameter is a line. Lines have not arc measures, but angle measures of 180 degrees. Therefore, this number, and this number all add up to 180 degrees. Let's go ahead and say that in math. We'll say that x plus 65 plus the other angle of x plus 59 plus the other angle of 70. These all add up to 360 degrees. Okay, so let's combine some like terms. We've got some x's. That's it. Okay, so we've had two of those x's, and then we have a plus 65. We have a plus 59, and a plus 70. I'm gonna eat my dessert at the very end. The nice thing at the end. Let's do the hard thing at the very beginning. So 9 and 5 makes a 14. So I'm gonna put a 4 here. I'm holding up a 1 on my hand right now, knowing I'm carrying the 10s. And then 5 turns into a 6 after I carry the 10. So 6 plus 6 is 12. So 12, 124. And then I'm going to add the 70. the 70 plus the 2 is going to be a 9. So just going to erase the 2 and turn it into a 9, 194. Cool. And that's going to be all equal to 360. From here, we just need to subtract 194, subtract 194. This is going to be 2x is equal to, okay, this is basically subtract 200. So I'm just going to pretend in my head that's minus 200. Okay, 360 minus 200 is 160. But I subtracted 6 too many, so I need to add 6 because I subtracted too much. If I add 6, this is going to turn into 166. And then from there, I'm going to erase that and say that was 166. And then does that, I think that still makes sense. I want to make sure I did that math correct. Sometimes these shortcuts, I make mistakes on them. Divide by 2, divide by 2. And x there is therefore equal to 16 divided by 2 is 8, 6 divided by 2 is 3, 83 degrees. But that's not my final answer, is it? I think I said final answer, but I meant to say, and I'm not going to box that because I need to find the measure of USW. Angle USW, again, is this angle right here, which is the same thing as this arc measure right here, which means I just need to add this. So I'm going to say that the measure of angle USW is equal to 70 plus x plus 59, and I happen to know what x is. X is 83, so I'm going to plug in 83 into that x, and then I'm going to get, I'm running out of room. Let's add this together. So 83 and 59 are the hardest pieces. I'll save my dessert for later. 3 and 9 adds up to 12, so I'm going to put a 2 right here. I'm holding a 1 in my hand, and I'm going to do 8 plus 5 is 13, plus the 1 in my hand is 14, so this is going to be 14. But the thing is, I haven't added this 7 yet, so 7 plus 4, I guess it's really 7 plus 14, isn't it, is 21. So my final answer is 212. 21 with a 2. 21 with a 2 degrees for my final answer. Didn't connect it, come on. There we go. And does that make sense? No, it doesn't. I'm just noticing that, like, if I have 212 degrees, then I should definitely be over half the circle. Did we make a mistake? Sometimes these answers are not to scale. I mean, this last one seemed to make sense because 105 degrees is 90 degrees would be like right about there for a 90-degree angle, and a little bit more than that would be 105 degrees. So that answer made sense. But this one seems suspicious because this should be like way too big. So I'm seeing that 70 plus 59 is definitely 129, which is way too big. So maybe these numbers are off. Maybe x should have been negative. If x was a negative, that would have accounted for going too far for an angle and then coming back a little bit. So maybe, did I make a mistake with my negatives? Let's see. Checking my work. 65, 59, 70. I add those all together and I say, those are my x's. Those should, I see my mistake. Do you guys see it? I can't believe I made that mistake. It's so silly. I said that these three angles add up to 360 degrees. What? This 180 degrees, Mr. Sindel. So there's my mistake. I'm going to come back in here and say, okay, my mistake was 360 degrees. I'm going to come back here and say this is really supposed to be 180 degrees. And now I'm going to say, I'm going to have to fix all of this now, won't I? 180 minus 94 is a negative 14, which is much easier to deal with, honestly. Negative 14. Negative 14 divided by 2 is a negative 7. This makes the math so much easier. Negative 7. And that means a negative 7 is getting plugged in over here. So come over here and say, obviously wrong. A negative 7 is coming in here. And I don't know if that's enough to make this answer make sense, but let's go ahead and check this. I'm going to do my two hardest things first. 59 minus 7 is 52. 52 plus 70 is 122 degrees. Just double checking my math because I've made too many mistakes. 52. Let's ignore the 2 for a second. 5 plus 7 is 12, so that's where the 12 comes from. And 2 because 9 minus 7. Okay, 122 is my final answer. Now, does this answer make sense? So I know that that's 180. this angle right here should be, or sorry, this entire angle right here should be a little bit more than 90 and a little bit less than 180. This number is more than 90 and less than 180. This answer now makes sense, but notice how I caught that. I'm like, wait a sec, that's way too big. So I had to come back and check my work. Therefore, I got the right answer. And that concludes our notes for geometry lesson 10-2, measure of arcs and central angles. Thank you for watching.